Starting in Okie City, we follow Officer Knight and his dependable dog, Greg, as they search for PY, a malevolent super genius cat that often terrorizes the city. Following a protracted search, PY, their target, unexpectedly emerges from the sewers and speeds his vehicle in the direction of an extremely high bridge. Knowing that this will put him in grave danger, Officer Knight advises Greg to look after his girlfriend, Alice, in the event that something were to happen to him. Officer Knight is fortunate that Greg has a parachute, which they use to safely land on the top of a building after he crosses the bridge with confidence. But later on, their automobile falls off and sustains damage. PY laughs as he abruptly walks by them, declaring that he won't have to worry about them anymore. Officer Knight and Greg notice that PY put a bomb on the rooftop when they turn to look back. In a brief flashback, PY and Butler, his aide, plot to murder Officer Knight and Greg because they are the only ones preventing him from assuming control of the world. He characterizes Greg, the dog, as intelligent but weak due to his body, and Officer Knight as a tough cop with kung fu skills who lacks intelligence. PY came to the conclusion that using a bomb is the most effective approach to kill them. Officer Knight returns to the present and attempts to defuse the device. Knight cuts the green wire because he thinks it should be the correct one because green signifies go, despite Greg's attempts to convince him to cut the blue wire. The two police officers are both sent to the hospital when a huge explosion results from this. Knight's head is bandaged, but Greg's entire body is wounded. A nurse advises the doctor to place Greg's head on Knight's body in order to preserve their lives, and the doctor thinks this is a great idea. In a live report, Sarah, a news reporter, explains how the surgeons were able to save Officer Knight and Greg the dog by fusing their two bodies to become Dogman. Dogman is now a well-liked super cop who assists residents throughout the city. Sarah reports Dogman's heroic actions, but the head of police becomes irate since Dogman alone receives all the praise for saving the city while he remains unrecognized. When Dogman later visits his lover Alice, he discovers that she has moved out and even intends to sell the house. She informs him that she can't date someone who is half human and half dog, so she moved in with her new boyfriend. However, when PY considers methods or plans to get rid of Dogman, he has an epiphany and asks his helper what dogs detest. Dogs detest firecrackers, he learns. The chief eventually summons Dogman to his office and gives him the command to use all available methods to apprehend PY. We see Dogman escaping many of PY's nefarious schemes and throwing him to cat jail so many times, only for PY to keep slipping out using different techniques. The mayor becomes extremely irate with PY's seventh escape from prison and demands that the chief fire Dogman, which puts the chief in major problems with the mayor. The chief questions the mayor about the possibility that cat jail, rather than Dogman, is the issue, but since her brother is in charge of the cat jail, the mayor takes offense at what he said. She threatens the chief, saying she wants PY apprehended as quickly as possible and wants Dogman off the PY investigation. The mayor decides to leave, stating that Dogman should be assigned a stupid task, such as his position, despite the chief's disapproval because Dogman is the best at catching PY. Dogman is depressed when he gets home and even breaks down in tears because the girl he once loved has abandoned him in addition to him being off the case. Because of the way PY abuses her, his assistant decides to leave his company, but PY is unconcerned and determines that if he's going to defeat Dogman, he is going to require another him, someone who thinks and acts like him. After a lot of research on his computer, PD sees a cloning machine and chooses to buy it to build a replica of himself to combat Dogman. The next morning, the chief phones Dogman to get to his office ASAP because he has another job for him. The chief recalls Dogman about Flippy the fish, which Dogman previously gave him for his birthday, but Flippy later became incredibly brilliant after swallowing a lot of brain dust and also got psychokinetic skills. Flippy the fish tried to steal a treasure box, thinking it contained real money, but ended up freezing inside his fishbowl high in the mountains before Dogman showed along and crushed him since he loves to roll over dead fish. The chief brings out the corpse of Flippy the fish and explains that the geniuses at the Super Awesome Science Center want to investigate Flippy's dead brain because of all his mental powers and whatnot. So, he wants Dogman to watch the fish while the experiment goes on. Sarah, the reporter who attends the science center, asks the scientist whether recreating a psychokinetic bad fish is risky. As PD watches on the TV, the scientist assures Sarah that the fish cannot come to life again unless someone steals him and flies him over the living spray factory and dumps him in the smokestack, where he might puncture a living spray gas tank and come to life. PD rushes off his chair as he just found a fantastic technique to take down Dogman. Dogman is assigned with monitoring the security cameras in case PD tries to take the fish, and while he is admonished by the chief not to mess this one up or he would lose his job, PD has already crept in without anyone noticing and snatched the fish as the chief finishes talking. When he leaves, Dogman turns around to monitor the cameras but realizes that the fish has already been stolen. He watches PD escape with the fish in a big flying vehicle, but Dogman is not ready to give up. He pursues PD using a drone from Sarah's cameraman, Seamus, but fails to catch PD after getting into an accident. PD's objective is to reprogram the fish to destroy Dogman. After a while, PD's cloning machine comes, and after following all the processes by placing his DNA into the cloning machine and pressing the start button, things don't go as he imagined. Instead of the machine generating an actual clone of him, it generates a small cat that looks like him. The small cat starts to regard PD as his papa, which he doesn't like at all. He subsequently names the cat Young PD and tells the young kitten that he is destined to be a villain and kill people, but the child is simply too innocent to understand. PD orders the small cat to wait while he rapidly departs on an evil mission, which is to bring Flippy the fish back to life. The small kitten doesn't listen to him, and PD has no choice but to take him along for his mission. The young kitten upsets PD a lot when he constantly calling PD Papa and says he wants to do things kids do. When PD arrives at a gas factory and is about to throw Flippy the fish inside a pipe to bring him back to life, the small cat presses a button on his car, forcing the fish to tumble into the wrong pipe, upsetting PD's evil plans. PD becomes so fed up with the small kitten that he places him inside a box and leaves him alone on the streets. Little PD finds himself wandering the streets, feeling extremely depressed that he doesn't notice a truck coming at him. But Dogman shows there in time and saves him from the approaching accident. Dogman feels sorrow for the cat and chooses to bring little PD back to his abode. He tells the cat a story, and little PD ends up falling asleep on the bed. Dogman, designed for him, PD is delighted that he has finally gotten rid of the kid and can now focus on defeating Dogman. However, he finds a storybook that little PD penned, titled Papa and Me. PD reads the book, which leads him to feel sorrow for abandoning little PD, and he becomes increasingly enraged when he sees Dogman and little PD together. Dogman treats little PD with kindness. They have so much fun together and end up becoming best friends. To get little PD back, PD develops a big robot that tracks down little PD and takes him away from Dogman's house while he is asleep. He tells little PD about his plot to assassinate Dogman with a squirrel shooter, a cannon that fires out explosives. PD designs it like a squirrel as Dogman likes to chase squirrels. He shows little PD his room and takes him to his own room, which is the toilet. Little PD resists, stating he wants to sleep with him. PD tells him that he wants to give him the support and direction he needs to be vicious and rotten like he made him, but little PD is nothing like him. Little PD says that maybe he is, but he doesn't like that aspect of himself. Little PD suggests they should go locate his papa. Maybe he is sorry for abandoning him, but PD warns him that the world is not what he believes it is. The world is a miserable place, filled largely with pain and selfishness. Just when PD falls asleep, little PD wakes up later that night with another notion to make his papa happy. He figures with a wonderful plan. He activates a robot PD created and charges it with finding his dad. Dogman wakes up and gets terrified when he doesn't find little PD anymore. He sniffs about his whole house and even goes to reporter Sarah for help in finding little PD. Sarah broadcasts missing photographs of little PD around the city but still fails to locate him, so she tries her best to cheer Dogman up. The next morning, the robot finds PD's dad and brings him to PD courtesy to little PD. However, PD's dad turns out to be a jerk and the reason for PD's bad habits. He tries to assist his dad reconcile with his own dad, but Grandpa P has no interest in changing or doing better. PD observes this and resolves to continue his pursuit of conquering Dogman. On the other hand, Flippy the fish lands up in the living spray factory, where the gas inside forces him to come back to life. The gas spreads throughout the plant and transforms it into a giant monster. Flippy turns the monster into his sidekick with the purpose of killing Dogman, just like PD designed him to do. While all this is going on, PD attacks the city with a gigantic cannon that shoots exploding squirrels. Dogman dodges all the blasts and goes after PD. He beats PD after a long struggle and binds him to his cannon. Little PD shows up and asks Dogman what he is doing with his dad. Dogman looks at how their bodies match and learns that his best friend is the son of his biggest enemy. Little PD begs Dogman to let his papa go, but if Dogman does that, he would lose his job. While he is left bewildered about what to do, Flippy the fish turns up with his giant monster. But to PD's amazement, instead of Flippy capturing Dogman, just as he was trained to do, he instead captures little PD. With no other choice, PD decides to beg Dogman to put their differences aside so they can both rescue little PD as partners, to which Dogman agrees. PD constructs a super huge robot to confront Flippy the fish's gigantic building monster. Dogman controls the gigantic robot and utilizes his experience in Kung Fu to fight the growing monster, killing it off with a suplex maneuver. After the living spray plant falls, gas spills out and spreads to the other buildings in the city, bringing them alive and wicked as well. Dogman and PD are vanquished as their robot gets smashed by one of the live buildings. Just as the buildings cause chaos in the city, little PD runs back to his dad's lap and equips himself with a mech suit to combat the living buildings, but is defeated in the end. To remove his kid off Flippy the fish's target list, PD urges Dogman to take little PD as far away as possible while he outfits himself with the mech suit and asks little PD to distract Flippy. Flippy carries PD to a volcano to prepare to drop him in, but realizes that he is not the small PD, which is his goal. PD almost falls into the volcano, but Dogman uses his treasured tennis ball to shoot from PD's robot cannon and helps him fall away from the volcano. Dogman and little PD show up, where little PD uses his goodwill to appeal to Flippy and be the friend that he never had. He narrates a lovely story to Flippy, which warms his heart, letting his wicked powers wear off in the process, and all the buildings return to normal. Flippy decides to summon the cops and willingly gets himself arrested. Just as they try to arrest PD, he shows there and pardons PD for his offenses because he joined in saving the city. PD disputes that he is a good person, arguing that he is evil and selfish, but now he is doing things for little PD instead of just himself. PD takes his son back home. Subscribe to watch more videos like this, leave a comment about your favorite movie, and we will make it next. Thanks for watching.